I'm the youngest of 3 brothers, with a good 10 years between me and my eldest. Recently, my sister-in-law, my oldest brother's wife, and I shared a joyful experience, which led me to share this story here. I'm in my early 30s. My eldest brother and his wife are in their early 40s, and they have a child. They're hoping to have another one soon. I also have a little one who's just over a year old. My brother and sister-in-law have been dating since before I entered college. She often visited our house when they were dating, and she's always been cheerful and kind, fitting in well with our family. So I've always trusted her like an older sister. My brother and sister-in-law had a child right after they got married. Their child has been asking for a younger sibling, so they changed their initial plan of having only one child and are trying to have a second. One day, I had some spare time after lunch at work, so I reached out to my sister-in-law to see how she was doing. We chatted about this and that. I work in sales, so I can utilize my time during work hours. I agreed to have lunch with her the next day and hung up. My sister-in-law doesn't drive, so I picked her up from her house, and we had lunch at a nearby restaurant. The restaurant had a separate area for coffee, so we went there to chat. She shared that now that her child is in elementary school, it's less physically demanding, but she has to provide more emotional support. She also mentioned that her child feels lonely because they don't have siblings like their friends do. So for the past 6 months, they've been trying to have a second child, but without success. She feels sorry for her child and frustrated about the situation. She also mentioned, just between us, that my brother doesn't last long during their intimate times. As she complained, I realized what the problem was. She was dissatisfied because their intimate moments ended too quickly. When I asked her how quick, she said it's over after 2 nursery rhymes. I was surprised to hear this from my petite, cute sister-in-law. I had no idea she was having such a problem because couples' intimacy is something only the couple knows about. It would require a lot of courage for her to discuss it openly. So, I suggested that we go for a drive to cool off. She was excited like a child. I told her that I had a business trip planned in a few days to a place near the beach. She said that her child finishes school late that day, and if we come back late, she can ask her mother, who lives nearby, to prepare dinner for the child. She must have felt comfortable planning this outing with me, thinking of me as her youngest brother. But I had planned this to help resolve her issue. Who would have known? The drive with my sister-in-law was really enjoyable. After visiting the client, we went to have dinner. We had sushi at a restaurant with a view of the beach. She was really happy, saying it was her first time at the beach without her child. I understood her. Coming to the beach with children and coming just with adults are 2 completely different experiences. She had told my brother that she was going for a drive with a friend. Well, I also didn't tell my wife that I was going to the business trip with my sister-in-law. At the restaurant, she ordered alcohol with the sushi, saying sushi isn't complete without it. As I had to drive, I didn't drink. While enjoying sushi, I was solely focused on making the most of this time with my vibrant and beautiful sister-in-law, who, despite her age, was full of life. She started to slur her words after a few sips of alcohol, just as I had anticipated. She suggested lying down in the car since she felt dizzy. Agreeing, I drove us to the beach. Like a child, she was delighted by the sound of the waves. Unlike my brother, I'm extremely tall and also a 4th-degree black belt in martial arts. I have a large build and good athletic abilities. My brother, on the other hand, is small and slight. He works for a large corporation and seems to be performing his role as a considerate head of the family quite well. However, he seemed to be unaware of his wife's dissatisfaction. My sister-in-law began to doze off while sitting on the beach, leaning on my shoulder. I suggested she rest in the car before we leave. Half asleep, she was surprised when I pulled up in front of a motel. I told her that she knew what was happening and decided to come with me. and she agreed to go inside since she was feeling tired and drowsy. I told her that I wanted to make her happy, and she agreed after a moment of thought. We became one, and she was extremely satisfied. She said she never knew there were men who were different from my brother, both in size and duration. She had only ever dated my brother and had no other male experiences. That night, we made love 2 more times, becoming lovers. Or rather, she started to contact me asking when we could meet up. Outside, she spent joyful times with me, and when it was time to conceive, she dutifully slept with my brother. For a while, she had a lot of thoughts about meeting me. She said she couldn't look at my nephew or my brother in the face, but because we behaved so discreetly, making sure there were no changes in our family lives, we were able to continue our affair without being caught. We managed our cell phones well. My sister-in-law wanted more excitement after meeting me, so we even had threesomes. It was quite interesting to watch her reactions during those times. Oh, and I had a vasectomy after seeing my wife suffer from childbirth, so I didn't have to worry about pregnancy. Knowing this, my sister-in-law was eager to continue our meetings. During the holidays when our relatives were around, we even exchanged our secret signals as we brushed past each other. After the holidays, she called me to tell me she was pregnant with her 2nd child. I sincerely congratulated her. And about 3 months later, when her morning sickness subsided and she was feeling better, we resumed our meetings until just before she gave birth. My brother was too busy to accompany her to buy stuff for the new baby, so he asked me to go with her. I seized this opportunity to have a good time with my sister-in-law. She gave birth to a healthy boy, and I had to refrain from seeing her while she recovered after childbirth. I spent quality time with my wife, feeling guilty and wondering if it was all right for me to live this way. My wife would never imagine, right, that her husband and her sister-in-law were sharing the same man. As soon as my sister-in-law finished her recovery, she left her child with her mother and came to me. She suggested that we have a good time within reasonable limits. How could I not love my sister-in-law, who was so happy to discover a brother-in-law with different charms from her husband? I don't know how long our loyalty to each other can last. We both seem to be addicted to each other, and it's making my head spin. I would appreciate any advice.